All right, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. I am calling the meeting of the Election Law Subcommittee to order. We have two main bills to discuss today. The first one that we'll start with is House Bill 656, which we had extensive discussion on at our last meeting. We did put together an amendment that I hope addresses some of the questions and discussion from last week. As you all remember, House Bill 656, it looks at public transportation routes and making sure that they serve close by early voting centers. So from last week's discussion and with input from SBE and MACO, there is an amendment that ensures that the bus route that we're referring to is funded by a city or county or contractor of a city or county. It specifically ensures that we include MTA, and it excludes the commuter buses, and while keeping the half mile that was in the bill in terms of the route, the stop being half mile from the voting center. So Stan, if there's anything I missed on the amendment, if you can just add anything that's needed.
Sure, yeah, so it includes the Maryland Transit Administration, but only in Baltimore City and Baltimore County, because those are the local buses in those counties. But it doesn't include MTA outside of those counties because those other counties have their own local bus systems, such as Howard and Arundel. Yes, and I think other than that, that's it. So it's just if the route passes within a half mile of the center, then they have to make all maximum practicable efforts to drop people off at the entrance to the early voting center during the time that the center is open.
Great. How about we start our formal discussion of the amendment by taking a motion?
Move the amendment.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly motioned and seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Delegate Lasanti.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I really do support this amendment. I think it's very thorough, and I think it addresses all the issues that we discussed at the last subcommittee meeting. So well done.
Wonderful, great. Committee's doing great work.
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
Yeah,
Delegate
sorry
Hall?
about that. I actually had hit the Zoom button and got into somebody else's Zoom meeting. Don't ask me how that.
Oh no.
It was interesting conversations, but I just walked out. Or you don't want to zoomed out.
Well, thank you for joining us, Delegate Law.
All right.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Delegate Law, I'm not sure if you were on for this part, but we're on House Bill 656. We're discussing an amendment that addresses the various questions that came up about, making sure that we're limiting the bus route to the public local buses, making sure that we include MTA for Baltimore City and Baltimore County, and excluding the commuter buses. So that's what we're talking about now.
Oh, okay, so it's still including the MTA buses on regular routes.
For Baltimore City and Baltimore County, yes.
Right. Did MTA, real quick question, did MTA give any kind of opinion on this, or?
So I Delegate Long, I called them yesterday and left a message. They didn't return my call.
Okay, I'm raising the same concerns about, timing, what it would cause if a bus has to leave a route. Let me ask you a question, Stan. Can they use mobility for that?
Yes, they could.
Okay, so if someone really needed a ride to the polls, they could call mobility, and mobility could pick them up from their house and take them directly there, correct?
Well, if you've met the eligibility criteria for that service, which, as you know, is limited.
Right. Okay.
To people with disabilities, and there's a certification process. It's a limited population that qualifies for that kind of demand response service.
Right. All right. Thank you, Stan.
Mhm.
Thank you, Delegate Long. Great questions. And MTA was always included in the bill, so hopefully if they had a strong concern, they would have let us know. So on the amendment, any other discussion? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the amendment to House Bill 656, raise your hand.
Well,
All
aye.
right. Okay, any opposed? All right, the amendment passes unanimously. On the bill, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Wonderful, thank you. The bill has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, on the bill as amended, all those in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed?
I
All
oppose.
right. Delegate Shoemaker and Delegate Long opposed. The bill as amended carries, House Bill 656. Thank you. Okay, moving forward to House Bill 1048. This legislation was heard on Tuesday. It is in regards to creating permanent absentee ballot lists. There are some amendments to this bill that were shared with you via email. I'm going to ask Stan to review the amendments for us.
Sure. So these amendments were requested by the state board. So if Jared has anything to add after I'm done. But basically it would clarify that there's only one form. So basically there would still be the absentee ballot request form, but they would just add a checkbox to that form that the voter could use to indicate that they want to have permanent absentee ballot status. And then it also, there's some changes to the timing of certain notices. So if you sign up for permanent absentee status, before each election, the state board would send you a notice by whatever method you specify. It could be mail, could be an electronic notice, just reminding you that you have permanent absentee status and to contact the local board if you have any updates to your address or other information. So the amendment would say that that notice has to be sent out at least 75 days before the election rather than 45 in the bill to make sure that there's enough time for the voters to get back to the local boards and the records to be updated. It would also specify that the people who would receive the notice would be those on the list as of at least 90 days before the upcoming election, so that they have to pull the list basically well before they actually send out the notice. And it would also specify that any changes to the voters' information, they should contact the local board rather than the state board to make that update. Is there anything I missed, Jared?
Nope, that's it.
All right, so that is the amendment on the bill. Several changes that were requested by SBE just to make sure that the process is actually smooth and works. How about we start our formal discussion on the amendment by taking a motion?
Move the amendment.
I think I saw a second from Delegate Jones.
Second, sorry, I was on mute.
No problem. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or questions about the amendment? All right. Hearing no discussion, all those in favor of these amendments to House Bill 1048, raise your hand. Oh, Delegate Lasanti, were you raising your hand for a question?
I'm sorry. I was trying to
No?
be, but I wasn't quick enough. Yes.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
A quick question. A permanent absentee ballot status versus a permanent mail-in ballot status. What is the difference?
There isn't any. It's just, I'm sorry,
Okay.
go ahead.
Because didn't we change the term last year from absentee to mail-in ballot?
I am so glad you asked that because we haven't cleaned up our full code yet
Okay,
in terms of having mail-in everywhere in the code. Stan tells me that's like a 40-page, that'd be like a
Okay.
40-page document.
okay.
We're working on
But
it.
That's why I
am
saw a smile on their face.
Yeah.
I am interested in us doing that though, to clean it up so that it's clean and clear for everyone. So I am working on an amendment. Well, Stan is helping me work on an amendment to my other bill that we might potentially be able to.
So we are talking about the same thing.
We're talking about the same thing. It's just that we it's not fully.
Gotcha.
We refer to both in the code.
We did codify it all the way through. Got it. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Great. That's a great question. Thank you, Delegate Lasanti. Okay, so we have the motion and the second. Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor of the amendment, we're on amendment still, right?
Yes.
Okay, the amendment to House Bill 1048, raise your hand. All right. Any opposed? Delegate Long, are you in favor or opposed to the amendment? We're not able to see you. Delegate Long? Okay, if he comes back, are you there? Okay, if he comes back, we'll let him register.
I'm in favor.
Okay, in favor, all right. Okay, so the amendments to House Bill 1048 carry. Now on the bill as amended.
Move favorable.
A second?
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded. Any discussion on House Bill 1048 as amended?
Evidently Jared's dog. Jared's dog would like to be heard.
I think he likes the bill.
I do have a question.
Yes, Delegate Long.
Yeah, I don't know if I asked this question or not before, but when you mail in a ballot and the signature is required, do they verify that signature?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
All right, any other discussion on the bill as amended? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor of House Bill 1048 as amended, raise your hand. All right, any opposed?
Aye. I'm opposed.
Okay, Delegate Shoemaker and Delegate Long opposed. No abstentions. The bill as amended, House Bill 1048 passes the committee. So we did that in about 20 minutes on our two bills. Go team. I did, however, want us to talk very quickly about the amendment that came up on a bill that we let out of our committee recently, House Bill 655 regarding voting districts, which there's extensive debate, as you know, on Tuesday and also today on the floor. And there's a specific amendment looking at school boards to see if we would like to add school boards as well to the bill. And so because that amendment came up on the floor, because that amendment just came up on the floor today, we haven't had a chance to discuss it, but I wanted to open up for some discussion for our committee around that amendment, whether we might want to consider accepting it or not. Any thoughts?
And just to clarify, so this would require that boards of education that have seats that represent as a particular district, that those members of the Board of Education be elected by the voters of that district. Is that
Right.
correct?
Exactly. So it'd be the same concept of the current bill, where yes, in-district voting being in-district voting, but apply that to school boards.
Okay. I know we did a local bill a couple years ago to do that in Howard County.
Okay. And it had the support. It passed.
It was, yeah, it was a local bill with the
Oh, okay.
delegation support.
Wonderful.
Makes sense.
Okay. We got some bipartisan encouragement here. Delegate Lasanti,
You're on mute.
you're on mute.
I really think it's appropriate for an amendment for House Bill 655. However, I think it brings up a very important issue that we probably need to find a way to discuss. Because, you know, it comes down, and the issues are parallel in my mind because of local control versus statewide initiatives. And I think school boards become rather interesting. When I read recently the Attorney General's opinions, he actually issued 2 opinions on who had the authority to close schools. And in that opinion, and I'll be happy to share it with the subcommittee, really dissects the creation of the public school system and when in fact it's a state actor and when in fact it's a local actor, which I think comes into play when you look at how the makeup of the board should be determined. But I think what I'm seeing across the board, there are several different bills. My county has one as well. I think Prince George's County has one. Now this is, I think St. Mary's County having an issue. I think what we are seeing is a lot of counties wrestling with the idea of how members of the school board are either appointed or elected, whether they're district or who the appointing member is. And I think the bottom line, it comes down to accountability and who's responsible for that. So I just think that it warrants some level of conversation. I just don't know that it's appropriate in this bill.
Okay, that is very helpful input. It's definitely something that at the last hour on this that's being added. So that is helpful. Is there anyone else who'd like to share their thoughts? I definitely think, you know, we're trying to talk to other stakeholders, folks who would be impacted, and make sure that we do our due diligence on this. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I was just going to say, I think that the basic principle, I think I support. I understand the point about is this the bill to do it, or should it be a separate conversation? But the basic, you know, principle of representative democracy, I support.
Right. Wonderful. Well, I wanted to make sure that our subcommittee had the opportunity to further discuss, since I think this was definitely one that had a lot of discussion on the floor. And so appreciate your thoughts and input on it with this bill, HB 655. We'll be back on the floor tomorrow. So we'll figure it out by then. Thank you for your engagement. Is there anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn? All right, go team. We got 2 bills out, several more wonderful bills to come. Thank you guys. Be safe. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
See you
Thanks,
this
take
afternoon.
care.
See you this afternoon.
Oh yeah. See you then.
Don't forget.